back a few years ago, I did an extensive review of the world literatures, looking at studies published between 1972 and 2011, and this did yield over 100 studies documenting variables that increase the risk of women experiencing post-abortion mental health problems. So what are the most well-established risk factors in the literatures today? One is, and these numbers might be a little bit off because there have been a few more studies published, and I haven't gone back into it too recently, but it's, these are pretty close. So if the woman is feeling pressured or coerced by others to abort, and pressure is kind of a broad variable. It might be subtle pressure, feelings like your partner would prefer that you terminated, all the way up to like threats of death if the woman doesn't choose to abort. So that pressure variable is not defined exactly the same way in each study. If she's religious or views an abortion to be in conflict with her personal values, there are 10 studies that identify this as a risk factor. And this one is kind of important to me in terms of my whole interest in studying abortion. When I went to college early at 16 and a half, and I went to Kenyon College here in Ohio, and my roommate over Christmas break had an abortion. She came from a very religious family. There was also strong genes for mental health problems. Her dad had manic depression, and so they did have that kind of genetic history. We all returned in January, and she was behaving very oddly. She actually had a psychotic break, and it turned out kind of the first hint to us that there was something really seriously wrong. We were just traveling in rural Ohio. We were going to get ice cream. That's about all you did back then when people were in college. It was a lot tamer, but we were going to get our ice cream, and the radio was on, and it was just like some kind of a sporting news where they were announcing scores for some races or something. And she said, "Did you hear that?" And we said, hear what? The scores? And none of us care about the scores. And then she actually heard the MC tell her parents about her abortion, and that was the first we heard of the abortion. She had auditory and visual hallucinations associated, and she had to leave school, obviously. I actually have reconnected with her. I haven't actually visited with her, but she's still in Ohio, and I hope to see her at some point. But up until that point in my life, I think, I thought of, I hadn't known anyone who had an abortion, and then studying psychology after that, everything you read indicated that abortion wasn't problematic, that it was just, a minor experience, and, women get over it. And I thought, I always would think about Anne's, circumstances and how it really, it was life-changing for her. She eventually, did get help, and as far as I know, she's fine mentally now. But anyway, so that sort of planted the seed for me in terms of, what is this, and what does it do to women? And so it was always in the back of my mind. And when I had opportunities to study in college, and I was always looking for opportunities to delve into this more deeply. But her family was very religious, very conservative. So she had like almost all these risk factors when you start to look at them. If she was ambivalent about the abortion, experienced any kind of decision difficulty, or had a high degree of decisional distress, 21 studies. And many women are not very sure when they walk in there. So there's a lot of ambivalence, that it's probably more normative to be ambivalent than to be sure about an abortion. She was committed to the pregnancy, or she preferred to carry the child to term, 7 studies. Belief that abortion terminates the life of a human being and or the woman experienced bonding to the fetus, 6 studies. And it might seem a little counterintuitive here. Why would anybody terminate a life if you believe that this is a human being? But actually the data indicate that about 50% of women who decide to have an abortion believe that they're terminating the life of a human being. And yet they almost feel, it's almost like a self-defense reaction. They feel like it's my life or this child's life. And often the thinking is compromised. You're in a crisis state. You're moving quickly through the system, most of the women do believe that that's what they're doing, and yet they go forward.